We are now live, yes. Nami, we're live.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today is World Youth Skills Day. The World Youth Skills Day is observed on July 15 annually and aims to promote the development and empowerment of young people worldwide by focusing on skills development and employment. This initiative, designated by the United Nations General Assembly in November 2024, emphasizes the significance of equipping youth with necessary skills to tackle unemployment and underemployment. World Youth Skills Day encourages governments, educational institutions, employers, and organizations to invest in training, education, and in initiatives that enhance the skills of young people. This investment aims to better integrate youth into the workforce, fostering personal development and economic empowerment. The observance of this day therefore seeks to underscore the crucial role of skills development in achieving sustainable development goals. Today, as the African Union, we are pleased to echo this message as the continent reflects on how to unlock the potential of this expansive and growing youthful population. Africa's youth population is projected to double to more than 830 million by 2050, representing a tremendous opportunity for economic growth and development, poised to ignite innovation and progress continent-wide. At the heart of this potential lies technical and vocational education and training, that is TVET, as a vital engine in equipping African youth with the skills necessary to propel the continent forward. However, despite the promising opportunities, challenges remain. The lasting stigma against TVET, along with the scarcity of the role models in the field, hold back its full potential. It's crucial, therefore, to understand that TVET opens up a wide range of fulfilling career paths and success stories. From skilled trades to emerging technologies, TVET equips young people with practical skills that are highly sought after in today's job market. Today's webinar is for Africa's youth, our future leaders and innovators for the Africa we want. I'm therefore pleased today to welcome Mr. Nicholas Ouma, Senior Officer in the Education Unit from the African Union Commission, Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, Mrs. Boleta Strand-Bagard, Chairperson of the Humana People to People Educational and Training Foundation, our distinguished panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, the youth. Good afternoon. My name is Unami Dube, a Senior Program Officer within the African Union Development Agency, responsible for World Skills Africa coordination. I will be taking you through our journey today, and I am grateful for your making the time to join us. Without further ado, I would like to turn the spotlight on Mr. Nicholas Ouma to give us his opening remarks. Mr. Ouma, please.
Thank you very much, Unami, for giving me the floor. Confirm you can hear me?
We hear you. Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the launch event of the Africa Skills Revolution. Today, as we gather virtually on World Youth Skills Day, we celebrate a day dedicated to recognizing the importance of equipping young people with the skills they need for employment, decent work, and entrepreneurship. This day is a perfect backdrop for our mission to harness the power of TVET to build a brighter future for Africa's youth. Today, with the support from Humana, we bring a journey to foster dialogue where African youth can share their dreams and aspirations, influence policy and drive socioeconomic development with TVET at the core. This platform aims to create opportunities to break down barriers and change perceptions about TVET. It is about recognizing the value of skilled trades, the ingenuity of our young entrepreneurs, and the creativity of our future leaders. Through this convening, we aim to challenge the stereotypes that have long overshadowed TVET and highlight its critical importance in our rapidly evolving job market. This year, the African Union adopted the theme as Educate an African Fit for the 21st Century. The theme aims to raise awareness in the education space about the need to do things differently in order to build and harness Africa's youthful population as the bedrock of the continent's aspirations to attain socioeconomic development and prosperity for all her citizens as espoused in Agenda 2063. In this context, it is in this context that we are inviting young people to have agency and determination to be champions of their own futures and the Africa we want. Today, we will hear from experts who will provide insights into jobs of the future and how young people can explore these various learning pathways to gain a skill and translate their learning journey to viable employment and or self-employment. Our interactive discussions will explore topics of interest such as digitalization, generative artificial intelligence, the role of the private sector in TVET, and skills anticipation, just to highlight but a few. As we embark on this journey, I want to emphasize the importance of working together. Whether you are a policymaker, an educator, an industry leader, a member of a non-governmental organization or community organization, your role is crucial. Together, we can create a strong network that supports skills development, drives innovation, and fosters sustainable economic growth. Together, we can build a future where every young African has the opportunity to succeed and thrive. I encourage you all to actively participate in today's sessions, share your insights and ideas, and take this conversation beyond this virtual room. Let us use this platform to forge new partnerships, inspire each other, and commit to actions that will make a real difference in the lives of our youth. Thank you all for being here, for your dedication to this cause, and for your commitment to the future of Africa. I look forward to a productive and an inspiring event. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you. Confirm, Unami, if I've been heard or I got lost somewhere.
We heard you loud and clear, Nicholas. Thank you so much for the encouragement and the motivation to the young people.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like at this moment is to just acknowledge our collaborating partner, Humana People to People, who will speak as well during this session, as well also acknowledging some of our network partners who have joined us on this event, that is Trust Africa and Atupa. At this juncture, I would like to call upon Ms. Nqobile Zwane, who will give us an overview of the goals of this youth advocacy campaign, what we aim to achieve, our key messages, and how you can join and be part of this awesome journey that is ahead of us. Ms. Nqobile, please.
Thank you, Unami, for the introduction. Sorry, let me just. Please confirm if you can see my shared screen.
Yes, we see it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so happy World Skills Day to everyone that's joining this platform. My name is Nqobile Zwane, and I work under the AUDA NEPID as a public relations officer. So I'm just going to take us through a brief overview as to why we are here today. So as Nicholas already mentioned during his remarks, that the theme of the year for the African Union is around education and skilling for the 21st century. And this just emphasizes the critical need to provide young people with the education and skilling that's needed for them to succeed in today's economy, especially because, as we may all be aware, we have in Africa the youngest population globally, with an expectation that it should be doubling by 2050. So there's never been a more important time to address some of the issues around unemployment, skills mismatch, and some of the issues around low wages for young people specifically. So why are we here and what do we aim to achieve? So firstly, the Africa Skills Revolution campaign, we're looking to empower the young people who are in the TVET spaces with knowledge that they need to address some of the perceptions around TVET. So this is to clear up some of the misconceptions that currently exist and making sure that there's an understanding of the crucial role that young people need to play in society, as well as forging some collaborative partnerships with youth taking lead on those. So we all know that young people have a lot to say in terms of innovative solutions, and making sure that their voices are amplified in these spaces is even more important because of that. And then the third bit of why we are doing this campaign is so that young people can be inspired to innovate and to be allowed to have opportunities in entrepreneurship, especially in relation to TVET, where then we are encouraging a creativity in problem solving, as well as empowering these young people to lead in economic growth. So we hear a lot about words around ownership and youth taking charge of their future. And that's exactly why we creating spaces like this, so that we can link them to industry experts, such as the speakers that are going to speak today, coming from rich and diverse backgrounds. So ultimately, through these efforts, we then hope for them to thrive in the TVET space through participation and, communicating some of the achievements that they have from some of their successes. One of our speakers, Mihle, is going to take us through his success story in the TVET space and why he thinks that it's such a great thing to do to go for a career in TVET. So our vision for success through this then would be to challenge some of those stereotypes that exist in the space. As I've mentioned, that there are still some negative perceptions around TVET, and it's important to make it look like the attractive a career path that it actually is, and offering great potential for young people, as well as having young ambassadors who are then going to be able to highlight the importance and the benefit more so of TVET, especially in today's job market. So they would then be promoting why they think it's a viable career. And then by doing that, through sharing their testimonials, inspire other young people, their peers, to take up a career in TVET. And then we also hope to provide platforms such as these, where young people can freely share their vision and their ideas, allowing for them to take up space and ownership in being drivers of their future. And then the last bit of what success is going to look like is, now when the campaign is coming to a completion, a lot of the stories that we'll be communicating about these young people, once they receive a spotlight, then you can have like more young people taking up careers and pursuing opportunities in TVET. That's ultimately what we would like to see. And then, as just a way to highlight some of the key dates ahead, today we're convening on World Youth Skills Day, which is the official kickoff of our campaign, which will be taking place primarily on our digital platforms. And then following this webinar that we have, we'll then have the ATUPA Annual International Conference, which is scheduled for the 26th of August. And during the conference, this is when there will be a competition launch where young people can send through entries on some of their success stories in the TVET space to inspire other young people. So through these entries, then there'll be a selection of winners from the entries that are submitted. Then we'll have a competition award ceremony during the week of the 14th to the 28th, which is the Africa Skills Week that will run. And then the public will have an opportunity to vote for the winners. And then November being the Africa Youth Month, we would then spotlight a lot of these success stories and have a lot of content going out on some of the entries, as well as just stories on young people that are in TVET spaces creating impact around that. So these are just some dates to look forward to from Outer NEPAD side, Humana side, and some of our key partners who are on this call. And then how you can join this movement is, one, you can assist us in spreading the word. So sharing information about the Skills Revolution campaign through your various channels and engaging with the content. At the last bit, the end of the slide, there is some of the social media platforms that you can reach us on to do that, as well as participating in events such as this, even the ones that are to come. Because they will have a hybrid format, attending and having your participation there to share your insights and to help in the discussions around TVET. And then you can also assist to explore collaborative opportunities with us at Outer NEPAD, Humana, as well as our key partners to help in the amplifying of voices so that we can reach more people and have maximum traction around this content. And then also the sharing of best practices, so you can contribute resources, your expertise. If there's anything that you feel that we may have missed, you're more than welcome to also engage with us on that, which also links back to the feedback aspect of the campaign. And then that's pretty much it in a nutshell, what we are looking to achieve through this campaign, as well as some of the support we are looking to gain from our key stakeholders, you included on this call. Thank you very much. So I'll throw it back to Unami to just please introduce Mihle, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Unami.
Thank you, Nqobile. Awesome. So you have an opportunity, colleagues, to join us on this great campaign. It is about the youth. So let's put them at the center of the Africa we want. Nqobile, I'm informed that Mihle is struggling to join in. So perhaps in the back end, you could be assisting him. In the meantime, Keiko, I hope you are set and ready. If Nqobile, you could help us to put up her presentation as I introduce her. So thank you so much, Keiko, for joining us from the OECD. The OECD has released the 2024 edition of the Africa Dynamics Report. And the report this year is about jobs, skills, and productivity. And we are so excited to hear about where are the jobs for Africa in the future. Please, if you could come in and help us understand how we could unlock TVET's full potential for better job opportunities in Africa. Ms. Keiko Alvarez from OECD. Thank you. You're on mute. Thank you, Keiko.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Unami. Thank you so much, Nqobile. Thank you, dear Mr. Ouma, dear co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll be, should I be telling you, Nqobile, to click on the slides? Okay. Okay, so you can go on to the next slide, please. It is an honor for me to join you on World Skills Day to speak about job opportunities and TVET potential in Africa. Building human capital and skills are foundational to economic development, provided labor markets create quality jobs at scale. So global trends at play, along with continental dynamics, including a growing population and insufficient financing of education, put a strain on Africa's ability to create jobs. By 2050, Africa's population will almost double to nearly 2.5 billion inhabitants, with the number of African youth having completed upper secondary or tertiary education also expected to more than double to 240 million by 2040. The continent's increasingly educated population is its most valued asset. However, investment in education has not kept pace. On average in 2021, as we can see on the graph on the right, African government spends 3.3% of GDP on education, which is below the international benchmark set by UNESCO. So next slide, please. African labor markets are adapting to new trends, which are redefining skill demand and supply. Developing renewable energies, for instance, could generate over 9 million new jobs by 2030 and a further 3 million jobs by 2050. The number of jobs requiring digital skills is growing as well. By 2030, 70% of these jobs will demand basic digital skills and 23% intermediate digital skills, especially in services. Climate adaptation measures will offer additional employment opportunities, namely in the infrastructure sector, which is responsible for 79% of greenhouse gas emissions and 88% of all adaptation costs. So please, next slide. The continent's annual average education financing gap between 2023 and 2030 is estimated at $77 billion US. Africa's spending inefficiencies in education are also high. From 2000 to 2017, they surpassed the $40 billion mark annually. So next slide, please. Africa's working age population is growing faster than formal employment opportunities. So productive employment remains scarce in most African countries. In fact, over 80% of Africa's youth in school aspire to work in highly skilled occupations, but only 8% of them find such jobs. So the demand for skilled workers remains low because employment growth has been confined to low productivity sectors like agriculture, retail, trade, and services. So next slide, please. As economies industrialize and diversify, next slide again, please. Yes, thank you. They produce more sophisticated outputs, thus relying on wider sets of skills at higher skill levels. So let us take a closer look at the workforce breakdown by occupation in Africa. Within a data set of 31 African countries, two groups each composed of 5 African countries represent the least and most diversified occupational structures. In agrarian economies, we see on one hand over 60% of workers are involved in the agriculture, forestry, and fishery sector. Conversely, in diversifying economies, we find the lowest share of workers in elementary occupations or agriculture, but the higher productive transformation levels than Africa's average, as well as the highest industrial development levels of the continent. So next slide, please. Since 2018, the African Union Commission, as Inami said, and the OECD have published this, the Africa Development Dynamics report, looking at job creation through the prism of AUC thematic priorities. So the 2024 edition, which we launched on July 5th in Tunis, explores how African governments, firms, and educational institutions can increase the supply of quality skills in line with current and future demand. The analysis benefits from the enduring partnership with AUDA and NEPAD. And at the regional level, the report draws on the knowledge and expertise of professors from leading African universities. And these 5 regional chapters zoom in on priority sectors where regions possess an unparalleled competitive advantage. So let us start with Southern Africa, featuring the mining sector. The report reveals that skills vary greatly within the region, the skill levels within subgroups, also of population. For instance, the percentage of workers in skilled occupations ranges from 14% in Malawi to 44% in South Africa, and more than half of the region's mining workers are found in artisanal and small-scale mining, so ASM. They're predominantly then informal and low-skilled. So Southern Africa's mining sector would benefit from developing downstream industries where value addition per worker is higher than in extraction. So we looked at diamond cutting in Botswana, steel production in Zimbabwe, cobalt refining in Zambia, and electric vehicle manufacturing in Namibia and South Africa. So in the same sector, Central Africa's reserves of critical minerals account for almost 70% of global cobalt production and many other minerals as well. The energy and the digital transitions have led to a rise in demand for these minerals. However, there's little to none transformation of these resources within the region. By way of example, the DRC produces 69% of the world's cobalt, but transform less than 1% of it. So again, technical skills will be much needed in this sector, as well as green skills, we posit, because they can help monitor and mitigate the environmental impacts of mining in the region in direct jobs, for instance, related to the degradation of soil, rivers, and biosystems, but also in indirect jobs stemming from the degradation due to infrastructure construction, for instance, and the influx of rural populations attracted by employment opportunities. So moving on to East Africa, please, which has made digitalization core to its overall development agenda. The publication reveals that on one hand, demand is greatest for basic digital skills across the region. In Kenya, for instance, over 2/3 of the 33 million jobs projected will require basic digital skills. However, on the other hand, sought after digital skills stemming from increased digital service exports exhibit a growing demand for intermediate and advanced digital skills amongst those working remotely for firms around the world. Next slide, please. Now, looking at North Africa, renewable electricity generation is estimated to have risen by over 40% over the past decade, thanks to the rapid expansion of wind, photovoltaic, solar, and solar thermal power. While the share of renewable energy remains low, so it's below 5% of the region's energy mix and below 10% of the electricity mix. The skills and the demand for renewable energy will increase and will continue to increase, including technical skills for construction and installation and managerial skills in project management, for instance. So according to various climate scenarios forecasts, the renewable energy sector could create up to 2.7 million additional jobs by 2050 in North Africa. And lastly, in West Africa, the agri-food sector holds strategic importance, not least because by the end of 2020, the sector accounted for around 25% of the region's GDP and 45% of its employment. So it is expected to provide 131 million jobs by 2030. The lack of technical skills and awareness of good conservation practices, for instance, result in post-harvest losses standing at 24% in the region, and which is the highest figure on the continent. So skilled workers are going to be needed here in downstream segments, as in other regions like in mining, in occupations related to food safety, management and control, process and product quality. Most notably, while the skill supply and demand is similar across occupations in the agri-food sector, the skill gap is higher amongst industrial engineers. So next slide, please. So ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, I'd like to reiterate that education and training can be further propelled through TVET. It can particularly help fill the skill gaps in settings such as artisanal, small scaling, mining in Southern and Central Africa, and family farming in West Africa, to mention just 2 examples, and translate into better productivity gains. So despite persisting challenges across TVET's ecosystem cited in this slide, I think we can, next slide, please. TVET programs can provide skills needed in African countries' priority sectors. We know that both the ILO forecasted that by 2040, the number of secondary TVET students is expected to soar to more than quadruple in Burundi, Mali, and Uganda, and to increase 6-fold in Sudan and 10-fold in Niger. So contextualizing TVET programs within wider learning ecosystems is key to responsiveness national labor markets. So at the OECD Development Center, our commitment to support 11 African member countries, soon to be 12, with evidence-based analysis and policy advice is stronger than ever. We welcome engagement with longstanding partners, institutions such as AUDA NEPAD, and new collaborations like Humana People to People. And I look forward to the discussion, and thank you for your attention.
Keiko, thank you so much. That is so rich in insight, so rich in motivation. And I don't intend as a moderator to reflect back what you have said, but I would like to invite participants, please, within the chat to share your thoughts, to share your comments and questions. And also, Keiko, please, if you could share the link to the report so that we can share it for participants to download it from the OECD website. I just want to say that I fell in love with the Africa Dynamics report for my master's, where we had to read the 2022 edition in 1 week and write an essay. So, but the richness of the research that is undertaken is very important for us to reflect on. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Pleasure, ma'am. Now, please, drum roll to a young person that I myself have just been touched by his story, his humanity, but also just his skill and tenacity as he goes about it. Have the pleasure to welcome Mihle Mvelagobe. He is a WorldSkills Africa Champions, WorldSkills Champions Trust. I'm claiming you, Mihle, for WorldSkills Africa. And he's going to speak to us today about his journey in TVET. Welcome, Mihle. Talk to us. You are a champion. What does it mean to be a champion for WorldSkills? Tell us about your journey. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Mihle Mvelagobe. I'm from South Africa. I competed at WorldSkills Abu Dhabi in 2017 in the bricklaying skill. Well, I think I won't even take very long because I think you've made it very clear, so it will be very easy for me to answer because it is my story, it is my journey. I'm a representative for the WorldSkills Champion Trust, representing Africa and South Africa. My journey started in 2017, where I competed at the WorldSkills South Africa, and I was fortunate to win as the best competitor in South Africa, and I represented South Africa in Abu Dhabi. My WorldSkills journey was quite immersive. It was amazing. It was great. I've learned a lot through the WorldSkills movement. I've learned a lot through the TVET sector. TVET, looking at the questions that I was asked, TVET is quite broad, and young people can learn a lot through the skills that are taught at TVET sector. Through my journey, I learned a lot of important skills, or a lot of important things in skills. And I've learned that skills open a lot of opportunities for young people to grow and develop themselves in the skills that they are offering, the skills that they are learning. I'm quite nervous. My apologies. I got here very in a rush, and I was trying to log in, so I couldn't prepare very well because I'm nervous now at the moment. So you will forgive me. As a WorldSkills Champion Trust, our mission is to inspire young people. We inspire young people by showcasing our skills journey. And showcasing our skills journey is we want them to enroll for skills, and we want them to see what skills can do. My motto has always been to young people, if you have a skill, you will never be hungry. So I motivate young people by sharing this motto, and once they learn a skill, they are able to apply that skill at their local communities, they're able to go outside there and make a difference in the community through the skills that we teach. Currently, I'm working as a bricklaying coordinator at Coral Brick. So I am training young people, I'm training old people as well, the bricklaying skill, so that they can make a difference. Part of my role is also going into industry and improving the standard and quality of work that industry people portray, and mostly we deal with local people that do not have the skills sometimes. So we need to ensure that they give a quality work when it comes to the trade, when it comes to bricklaying trade. I'm not sure if I've answered the question well, but you can maybe.
No, thanks very much, Mihle. Is there anything that you would like to add, perhaps in a parting phrase? What would you say to a young person today in terms of, you've already said it quite well, learning a skill, you will never be hungry. So how would you encourage a young person to pursue that dream to get a vocational skill?
Thank you once again. The best motivation, I think it is within the words that I've said. Learning a skill, you will never be hungry. A young person needs to know that once they acquire a skill, it will be easy for them to be employable, and they don't need to be employed at times. They can just go out there and start doing something.
Mihle, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Thank you. Come back. You'd put yourself on mute. If you can continue your sentence.
Sorry, yes. So a young person can, once you have a skill, you will be able to do anything. You don't need to wait to be employed. So you can go out there and you start, for example, I will use my skill bricklaying. You can start by building something at home, and someone will see, and that person will want it at his place. And another person, now you are now creating an opportunity for yourself, and you will end up grooming other people and teaching them this skill, and you will start now employing other people through the particular skill that you are doing. So the only thing that is the most important thing for the young person is to believe in themselves, and also always trust their abilities, and not
Technology seems to be letting us down there. Mihle, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. But we noticed that you'd been cut off by perhaps a bad connectivity. Thank you so much for joining us. You're always an inspiration. And please continue to share your story and to be an inspiration to many other young people. I hope you can stay around until the end. I can see that there'll be many questions that will be directed towards you as a young person. Thank you, Mihle. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, colleagues. At this point, we would like to move on to a Mentimeter. Nqobile will engage us in asking us a few questions. Please, if you turn to your chat, and I hope by now, Nqobile, we've also been able to disable the chat for participants to input their questions. Our first question today is, why did you join us today? We would love to know what drew your curiosity to join us today. Please type your questions. Unfortunately, by raising your hand, we here, the participants, as the panelists, are not able to see. We really invite you to type in your questions in the Q&A, and we'll be able to read them and respond to them. For now, please join us at the Mentimeter. If you go onto your phone, mentimeter.com, and use the code 6508-8839, and you will see all our questions will begin to pop up. I invite as well the panelists to do the same. Why did you join us today? Let's see what Mentimeter throws up for us. To learn the skills needed for the future, something is coming up. Please keep sharing. There we go. Some more voices coming in. To inspire even one person, absolutely. Curiosity about growth sectors for young people, and that OECD spoke very well to that. To be a bigger part, to be a part of a bigger vision for TVET in Africa. To learn from the speakers and experts. As a private sector member that believes industry has a role to play, very much so, private sector at the center. To hear about TVET from a young person's perspective, and I hope Mihle has painted that picture for us, to learn more about TVET in Africa and hear from young people's experiences, to appreciate solutions. Skills are our new, that sentence is not completing. Please pop them up. Pop them up. We'll allow just another 30 seconds before we move on to the next question. What would we think to be the contextualized skills for Africa growth? Absolutely. And I think that report was already beginning to allude to that. I work on youth-related issues within the UN, needed to have updated on the trends in Africa. I hope that has been satisfied. To hear the good work that TVEPs are currently doing and learn from the speakers. Thank you. Thank you so much. We continue on. We have our next question. What would you like to learn more about from this webinar? And perhaps as we engage going forward, as we launch this youth advocacy campaign, what would you like to learn more about from the work that we are doing as the African Union Development Agency, together with the African Union Commission and our partners? You're hearing about World Skills Africa. You're hearing about Humana, people to people. What would you like to learn more about from us? And so we have pop-ups again. What would be the way we could work together towards SDG 17? How to collaborate with NEPAD as a female entrepreneur? What works and what doesn't work for TVETs in developing economies beyond theories? Very important question. Digital skills needed to thrive in Africa, technologies and modes of deliveries for skill development that are most impactful on the continent, specific sectors in high demand, how youth can assist in leveraging EdTech to push the TVET and TVSD agenda forward, technical vocational skills development, TVSD, the way forward for Africa to empower youth to secure good paying jobs, alleviating poverty and positioning for the future. Absolutely what we all hope for, so that our young people do not get degrees and languish on the side of the road selling airtime and not utilizing their full potential. It will be interesting to know more about the vision and plan of the African Union and its partners towards giving young people the opportunities they need to engage in TVET. And colleagues, I just want to say some of these responses are futuristic to initiatives that we will embark on. So thank you. You are helping us also to frame how our advocacy campaign should go forward. What are our last question before we move on to our panel discussion? What are the biggest barriers young people face when accessing TVET programs in your community? To your knowledge, what are the biggest barriers young people face when accessing TVET programs in your community? And please keeping in mind that there are questions, we do acknowledge the questions that have been popped up in the question and answer. Please allow that we will have a question and answer at the end of our panel discussion, and we will be able to reflect and bring on board our keynote speaker together with the distinguished panelists to respond together. So some of the issues being raised around the barriers towards young people, socioeconomic conditions that impact learning outcomes, not enough space to enroll as a learner, perceptions that TVETs are for failures. My biggest worry, that one. Lack of efficient collaboration between the private sector and public sector to make TVET accessible and in line with the economy's needs. Yes, we definitely need to do more around that area. There are information gaps. There's lack of awareness of relevant TVET programs, a cultural misperception on TVET. I invite you, colleagues, thank you so much for the richness of these comments and feedback. Continue on Mentimeter. We will reflect on these inputs as we roll out our advocacy campaign over the next coming weeks and into the meetings that will take place at the end of the year. These are most welcome and we're grateful. As we conclude, there's high rate of school fees, data for sustained support to startups, stigma of TVET as a dropout option. And that is the very essence of our campaign to change the perceptions of TVET, that having an artisanal or a trade skill can be the future for you. And as well, and as eloquently said by our youth champion, learning a skill, you will never be hungry. Thank you, Mobile. I think we can move on to our panel discussion. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome our distinguished panelists today. And we will start our conversation today from the hospitality sector. Please allow me just a second. Welcome, Ms. Mulemwa. You are a passionate advocate for the hospitality sector. In a recent exchange, you mentioned that hospitality offers 117 learning pathways. However, only 9 are even taught in Zambia. Say a little bit, what did you mean by this? And what are the yet untapped opportunities for young people in the sector? How can the public sector, industry, and TVET practitioners work together to tap into the hospitality sector? Ms. Mulemwa Monga is the board chair of the Hospitality Association in Zambia, and she's speaking to us today about the opportunities in hospitality. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Because Nobile has me on a timer, I will respond at the end of my presentation because some of it will be answered in the presentation. I started the presentation not by introducing myself, but by introducing the institution that I represent, which is the Zambia Institute for Tourism and Hospitality Studies. It is an institution that has a 60-year history, having been established in 1963. Our mandate is quite detailed, but we focus on the top one, which is to provide tourism and hospitality education, training, capacity building for tourism subsectors, and the hospitality subsectors. Now, just a bit to dwell on this is to really appreciate what our mandate looks like. So we are a statutory body under the Ministry of Tourism, mandated with human capital development. Now, in understanding our responsibility, it is very important that we share what that landscape looks like. We can move to the next slide. So tourism and hospitality, we've noticed, is usually used interchangeably. So this kind of now brings context to when I say subsectors of tourism and hospitality. So tourism and hospitality are related but not the same. So what we provide is really learning. We're supposed to provide learning at different levels for the sectors and for the industries, as has been depicted in this Venn diagram. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so this now, I'm now breaking down what that actually means. So when we come to tourism, tourism is really divided into 2 main subsectors, which is the leisure side, which is what most people associate your holidays, your hotel stays. But each one of those is an actual specialization I work in business tourism. I've worked in business tourism and I've specialized in meetings. So what I would like the young people if to take away from this, if nothing else, is for them to have an appreciation of what the broader context of tourism actually looks like. Each one of these sectors is actually their potential employers, both as an employee and as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. So this is basically what the tourism landscape looks like. So we've got what we associate with tourism is really the attractions, the nature, which is only a component. There are destinations around the globe that have specialized as sporting destinations, as medical tourism destinations, even as religious and cultural destinations. So young people need to now take an interest beyond this call, because this would be a lecture that I would give for an hour on just this one slide. So we can move to the next slide. This then gives you a better understanding of hospitality. Who's employing? Where can you work if you studied something in hospitality? And this brings me, Unami, to what you raised earlier about the number of career paths, learning pathways. There is approximately 152, and we only provide 9, and those 9 are really just 3, because it's food production, it is tourism management, it's hospitality management. Very generic. That is what is currently obtaining. Now, if you look at just this slide, this is just for the tourism management. If you look at somebody that can go and work in the revenue management, this is not somebody that's coming from a customer facing background. This is somebody from finance. But young people don't actually look at the sector as a sector that can employ them. We can move to the next slide. So this slide is very critical to what we do now. As I earlier mentioned, we are an institution that was established in 1963. So this particular platform, this particular agenda that you have around bringing the conversation to the 21st century skills, this becomes our guiding tool. We are a member of the United Nations tourism body, and we subscribe to what is called the Tourism Education Guidelines as an institution. And this is something that I would like to share with the countries that are on the platform. This is basically how we've embarked on our getting into the 21st century as an institution, because we looked around about what does industry actually need, because we are facing the highest skills gap as tourism and hospitality in the midst of the highest number of graduates ever in the history of humanity at tertiary level. Now, how are we having this many graduates and this much this wide skills gap? It's really because most young people are graduating with labor market irrelevant skills. Our education system has been primarily knowledge based. We are content based. What our industry looks at is competence based. We need to now start shifting the learning, and that is where TEVET comes in very critical, because what the industry actually needs is not somebody that's just coming in with an academic 4-year bachelor's qualification. What the employers in this sector want to know is, are you able to do this? How long have you done this? For whom have you done this? So this means you have to have first the proof of competence that you can do ABC, whether it's cooking, whether it's serving, whether it's making, working in housekeeping, and all those. So this is kind of the toolkit that we're working with as an institution. And we are really very keen to get other destinations to think about it. As I conclude my presentation, and before I introduce myself based on my profile, what I wanted to raise, we can go to the previous slide, is the importance of this particular document. So these are the 7 guidelines for tourism education that were developed in 2022. Why I want to bring this to this fora is pre-COVID, we as destinations did not understand the size and the quality of our human capital. When we were locked down, when Africa was locked down, the impact on our young people was so significant. The revelation of how highly illiterate this sector was, because our skills, the people that worked in this industry, primarily young people, were not able to transfer their skills. They were not able to get jobs anywhere else, because you started a job as maybe a waiter or some other entry-level job. You've worked and you've risen through the ranks, maybe without even pursuing any proper learning paths. So you've got 10, 15 years experience with one particular facility, and you've got nothing else to show for it. And this is why this particular guiding tool is very important, because now tourism sits for Africa, by the way, as the highest potential in terms of diversification, economic diversification, from the impact of climate change, as well as really the extractive practices of mining. So we really would like to promote that. And in closing, I would like to introduce myself. We can bring in the last slide. I am coming from a planner background. I am an event planner. I am certified with 3 certifications, none of which are available in Africa. I've worked in extensively in business events, and recently in April, I joined a global brand called Helms Briscoe. I work as a MICE buyer globally. I would like to at least leave this table with having a few young people coming up and saying, I would like to become a planner or a MICE buyer in my country, because that is what this is all about. And the skills that you require, the practical learning that you need, is what the TVET system can offer young people. And with that, I'm sorry, Nobile, for going over my time, but I thought it was very important for me to share that information.
Molemwa, thank you so much. Your passion came through, and as you were concluding, you were saying tourism has the highest potential for economic diversification. If we put it in numbers, I see here, even the World Tourism Council puts the potential of US 168 billion in the next decade for Africa. So definitely an important sector, which is always at the top of our NDPs. And our conversation today is about how do we unlock that storyline within the NDPs and position the TVETs to deliver the much needed skills to drive those growth projections. Thank you very much. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
And now we would like to turn to digital. And for this, I have the honor and the privilege to welcome Ms. Winnie Karunu from Microsoft. And she will speak to us today about the potential in the digital space. Ms. Karuku, welcome to the webinar. Share with us, please, your perspective. What are the key future-ready skills that TVET programs should focus on to prepare youth for the evolving job market? And how can these be effectively taught? How do we ensure that young people are aware and that these programs are accessible and beneficial to underprivileged youth and the hard-to-reach communities? Please welcome, and we are so grateful for making the time to join us. Ms. Karunu, thank you.
Thank you, and I'm hoping you can hear me. I can see my internet is a bit unstable. I'll start with, we just launched an AI and the Future of Work in Africa white paper that kind of explores the opportunity around AI and what we can do with regards to AI in Africa. So I would encourage you to use the QR code in in the screen to just kind of download the paper. And I'll start, and I think a lot of the statistics have been mentioned today already by my other fellow speakers. But I think maybe one of the things that I'd kind of want to highlight on this slide are maybe two things. One is that, you know, Africa is already the youngest continent on the planet, and by 2030, we're expecting that it will constitute 42% of the global youth population. What that means is that we'll make Africa the world's future workforce, which is, I think, for me is a great opportunity for us, for our youth to be the architects of tomorrow. The other kind of statistic that I'd want to mention is the informal sector. Around 85.8% of the employment in Africa is informal, which means that 95% of Africans with the ages of 15 to 24 are working in an informal setting, and is contributing 55% of the GDP. What this means is that, you know, in as much as we are in terms of population, the size is huge. The opportunity to transform industries is also quite huge, but also at the same time, our sectors are also informal, which means that we need to really think about how does that kind of translate into our current economies, and how then do we actually leverage the power of AI in this kind of setting. And it is imperative that we provide Africa youth the tools and the opportunities to access, innovate, and build their future with AI. I think the opportunity here is that we do have the right resources in place to be able to ensure that we can really accelerate, but also position our youth for to be the global talent of the world. And I'm particularly excited about this opportunity, because it means that, you know, in as much as there are so many challenges, and I think my fellow panelists have highlighted in terms of the areas where there are opportunities in different industries, we also do see that we can really accelerate the opportunity in terms of not only just thinking about the opportunities in Africa, but also thinking about what can our young people do in terms of accelerating and accessing opportunities especially in the global north, and also in terms of other countries across the world. I think what we are seeing as opportunities in the global economy, especially in digital, is that, you know, there are opportunities in terms of gig work and remote work. And I think what we've seen in 2020, where there was a huge transition with regards to a lot of people coming into digital work and kind of having to work digitally, there was a need for digital literacy and kind of digital skill sets as well. And as Microsoft, I think one of the things that we did drastically as well is kind of think about what are the opportunities and the opportunities that young people can have in the digital economy now, given that there was acceleration during COVID, and what are the areas where they need to grow. And we used a lot of our data and insights from the platforms that we have, like LinkedIn, where you see a lot of the jobs that are being posted, but also the kind of talent that is available. And you did see a lot of gaps in the skill set that were needed in the market. And so we crafted our programs around what are those skill sets that are in demand, and how do we ensure that as many young people can be able to access those opportunities digitally. So not only just in terms of the workplaces that they work in, but also in terms of being able to access them online as well. And you're seeing a lot of emergence of remote work. And I think the opportunity here is to really think about, you know, as we think about the opportunities in Africa, not only just limited to the geographical location, but also in terms of what we can do and kind of open up our young people to have access in those different opportunities across the globe. We're already seeing a lot of recruitment companies coming to look for talent in the continent, where, you know, already there's a lot of kind of huge hubs in Egypt, in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Tunisia, for example, where you've seen a lot of people being offered opportunities globally. And so there is a race in terms of digital talent, and Africa being the kind of the next source of talent for the globe. I think there are opportunities for us to really accelerate our training and education mechanisms to be able to train young people with the right skill set so that they can access these opportunities. And as we think about what then the skill sets that we need, I think there are a couple of them. And I think in the era of AI, you can see that, these are like top 15 skill set that were highlighted that will be needed by 2027. And you can see a lot of them are actually soft skills. In terms of soft in the sense that they're not technical skills. And so what you do realize is that there is a need for us to think about as we think about AI and how the opportunity of it, which is in terms of automation, in terms of being able to simplify a lot of tasks and automate a lot of tasks, I think there is opportunity in terms of thinking about the human ingenuity and what can we do in terms of building the capabilities of young people to think about it critically in terms of problem solving, in terms of creative thinking, in terms of leadership and social influence. I think flexibility and agility as you think about how do you change, I think in this rapidly changing world, how do you ensure that you can be consistently think about your skill set, what are the environment needs, and what are the things that you can do to respond to those. I think embracing lifelong learning has been a key aspect of it in terms of thinking around, like for example, last year, generative AI was not as prevalent. Right now, it is kind of the key skills to learn. And so I think as we think about how technology is changing, what are the skill sets that are needed to ensure that we can continuously learn and grow. I think curiosity as well is a key skill in terms of thinking about, what is this technology or what is this particular problem? How do I, what are the things I need to learn to be able to solve this problem? And how do I ensure that I can be able to use the skill set that I need to be able to do so? And so that continuous learning, I think, will be critical. And of course, you can see the other skill sets that are there, and I encourage you to kind of continuously build. As Microsoft, we responded by building an AI skilling initiative that will help to address the AI fluency gap before it becomes too wide. And I think before we were thinking about who are the people who will be marginalized with the lack of digital skills, I think the opportunity now has been in terms of, there's a lot more risk of a lot more people being marginalized, given the need for having, the right technology, the right in terms of connectivity, but also in terms of basic digital skills to be able to participate in the digital economy. And so we're really focusing on how to make AI equitable, and also making sure that we can be able to train at scale and help people to participate as much as possible. So if you think about how we do that, I think partnering with different organizations to be able to ensure that we can drive that at scale. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to partner with our NEPAD and our government as well to be able to, and different governments as well to be able to do so in terms of increasing workforce potential at all levels and ensuring that we can be able to address the challenges, but also the opportunities that AI provides, but also free skilling. I think one of the things Unami mentioned here is how do you ensure that you can be able to access these opportunities at by reducing the barriers to entry. And I think we know cost is always a big issue across the board in terms of accessing skill sets. And so what we really try to do is be able to reduce that barrier and provide this training at scale, free of charge to as many people as possible. And so I'll quickly kind of go through some of those resources here so that you're able to access them. So as I mentioned, we did a lot of analysis in terms of what are the jobs that are on demand. And if you go to opportunity.linkedin.com on the website, you'll see all those different trainings that are available. And you'll see that, a lot of them are tech enabled, which means that not all jobs will need to be technical, but a lot of jobs will be augmented with technology. And so being able to know how to use technology in your day-to-day job will be quite important. So if you think about from admin professionals to project managers to business analysts, they will need a lot of that type of work. But also as well, I think in the era of AI, being able to really even accelerate your efficiency in how you build, project plans, or how you analyze your stakeholder engagement, or how you ensure that you can be able to manage risks at different levels by preempting some of the analysis that you're doing as well, but also in some of the tech jobs. And I think the opportunity here is young people don't have to, ideally, you don't have to spend, 4 years learning a university degree. I think the opportunity here is you're able to, augment that or accelerate that learning using online tools, but also augmenting it with some of the opportunity for TVETs as well. We've worked with a lot of TVETs across the region in being able to support in terms of instructor-led training, in terms of being able to identify what are the skill set needed for different types of skill sets. So for example, in terms of mechanical engineering or in terms of electrical engineering, what are the things that you need to learn to be able to be competitive, but also really be able to thrive in the digital economy as well. I think what we've learned as well is making sure that we meet people where they are, and so making sure that we have the right skill set for everyone. So where your digital journey might be different, and so making sure that you can access these resources at any level that you're joining us in. So we have from basic digital literacy skills all the way to advanced skilling. And then I think I mentioned about the importance of soft skills training, being able to ensure that you can be able to access those directly and being able to access those on our platform as well, free of charge. Every training program that we have, we provide a certification. So we have these career essential certificates that we do provide that you can be able to use that to access a job. And I think they have been quite useful. We've seen a lot of young people, especially in the gig economy, taking the course, using the certification and accessing opportunities online. And I think this has been a game changer for a lot of young people to be able to, to kind of certify that I've been trained, I've been certified. And so someone acknowledges that I do have the skill set to be able to, bid for this particular work. And so this has been quite helpful, especially like in admin professionals or business analysts, project managers. And so really encouraging you to be able to take advantage of that. I mentioned we meet you literally where you are. And I think there's been a lot of skill sets that are available for that. And I think for the generative AI courses, I think we do have courses on prompt engineering for improving your productivity to AI fluency. So really looking out, please go out to opportunity.linkedin.com to learn more about that. And if you want to continue to advance your skill sets, I think we do have other opportunities to do so. We provide scholarships for LinkedIn Learning, for example, where you can be able to access more content available on all types of skills through our LinkedIn Learning. Also, we have Microsoft Learn, which provides on-demand technical skills, and GitHub, which also helps you to have practical skills and hands-on learning on GitHub as well. And then finally, I think I mentioned about the scholarships and then the vouchers. We also provide discounted vouchers for all the different Microsoft certifications available so that you can quickly be able to access opportunities in the job market. And so really kind of reducing those barriers to entry when it comes to the cost of certifications. And then maybe I'll stop there for, and I've taken a bit of time. Thank you.
Winnie, thank you so much. And I could tell you were rushing through it, but we're
Yes.
also just reading some of the questions. So I keep saying, are you hearing Winnie? She's answering to you, she's responding. So thank you so much for demystifying the world of AI. I think a lot of us, I like to call ourselves BC, before COVID. We always thought when AI came on board that it was here to take over our jobs or, to steal the limelight, but you really have demystified and how it can be a skill that enables our productivity, enables our efficiency. And so thank you for sharing. And please feel free to also look at the questions that have been posted directly to you. We are inviting all our panelists.
Unami, you've muted yourself.
All right, where did you stop hearing me from?
All our panelists, we invite you, all our panelists.
All right, and as I said, I was just saying that we're inviting all our panelists to be looking through the questions and responding so that we make it as interactive in case time runs out. So thank you so much, Winnie. We truly appreciate your inputs. Thank you. I would now like to turn to a TVET practitioner, our second last speaker, Mr. Soda. You are from Humana People to People, Development Aid, People to People in Zimbabwe. You are a TVET provider, and we know that TVET providers are catalysts for the youth and community. And a lot of the questions, Mr. Soda, are also around how you are inclusive in the TVET. So I would like to invite you, please, sir, to speak to us, hearing about the demand and opportunities, the OECD report, the hospitality, the Microsoft, and other experiences that you have. How can TVET programs be designed to nurture entrepreneurial skills among young people? And what support structures are necessary to help them turn their ideas into successful ventures? And say a little as well in terms of how you respond to the demand, as well mentioned in the other sectors highlighted by our partners. Thank you, Mr. Soda, welcome.
Thank you very much. I am Lakshman Soda, the Country Director of Development Aid from People to People. You can say Humana People to People is a network of organizations which are working in 42 different countries worldwide. And we have got 40 years of working with young ones, students, because this has been so key for us to realize that for development in the world, in Africa, we need to have those people with the muscle, with the zeal, with the energy, and hence our very first TVET was established in 1980. Currently, as Humana People to People is an organization, we're operating 16 TVET colleges, which are spanning from 8 different countries in Africa. We're in Angola, we're in Guinea-Bissau, we're in Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And each college is particularly designed to meet the local needs while aligning with the national educational framework, thereby complementing the government effort to enhance education outcomes. You can also say that across our diverse network, all our Humana People to People schools share 4 core principles that define our approach. First, you can say that our commitment to empower the young people is unwavering. Our TVET colleges are dedicated to equip the students with the practical skills directly relevant for the local market. We believe in Humana People to People that it's not only to prepare the students for the career, but also to empower them to shape their future as drivers of innovation and progress. We have also realized that in these colleges, we have to do more, not just as institutes, but they are vibrant community hubs, deeply embedded within the local context. That means that we need to include what the people needs. They serve as catalysts for development, fostering collaboration among stakeholders, drive the collective and progress in their community. Thirdly, you can also say that the Humana People to People prioritize to serve the rural and the remote areas, ensuring that the youth in this region have got equitable access to quality education, opportunity for socio-economic advancement. This commitment is rooted in our belief as Humana People to People, that every young person deserves a chance to strive regardless of their geographical location. And of course, lastly, is one of our core values and principle. It's a cornerstone of education at Humana People to People School that cultivation of essential 20th century skills. Students, they have to learn very critical competence such as how to organize the organization as a skill. It's very key than just learning the practical skills. The teamwork, the problem solving as a skill is so critical to address not only local but global challenges like climate change, inequality, and many others. These competencies are not only prepared to the students to lead, but also to innovate and adopt in this ever-changing world. You can also say that as Humana people to people, we adopt a holistic approach to educate and integrating entrepreneurship, the business skills into our curriculum. And this is very key. You can also highlight some of the examples in Zimbabwe that when we realize that the uptake of our students or young ones coming to our college was so questionable that they would come in their small numbers. Then we said, no, we need to go out and speak to the young ones. We want to hear what the youth want. We don't want to impose. So it is from the designing that you realize how important to include the youth have to say. So we had to invite stakeholders like universities to collaborate with us. We carried out a survey that speaks to what the youth want. And that was very critical to see how we should design the courses the youth would want. When we have done that, the result was very clear that the next intake, the schools, our TVET schools were full because the youth were motivated. They know very well that this is the skill they want. So you can say that some of our experience are very clear that by involving the youth, engaging them, we create sustainable way of preparing the next generation which are ready to take their hands out of the pocket and produce not only for themselves and create an opportunity for them sustainably. Moreover, our partnership with the local community, industry, and government are so pivotal to our success. By forging strong alliances, continuously gathering feedbacks from the stakeholders, we ensure that our programs remain relevant and responsive to the ever-evolving opportunities of the job market. In Zimbabwe, for example, we have pioneered a public-private partnership that have resulted in developing the market-driven short courses, tailor-made to address specific skills gap in sectors like agriculture, engineering, cosmetology, just to name a few. And these initiatives are not only to enhance employability, but also stimulate economic growth in the local community. As we look into the future, the role of TVET providers, we think as Humana people to people in Africa, cannot be overstated. They serve as springboard for unleashing the potential of Africa's youth, equipping them with skills, knowledge, and confidence to shape them as future leaders, and they have the future in their hands. And last slide, I want to say to the youth and to Africa on this launch, together, let us embrace the power of the young people in Africa, for they are catalysts of transformation and architecture of the bright tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soda. I truly appreciate you sharing the experiences in Zimbabwe, the private partnerships that you are building up, and especially recognizing that we saw it in COVID, as I think has also been alluded by Ms. Mulemo, that when TVETs closed, when the education systems closed, our TVETs had nothing to do. We could engage the primary, the high school through TV and so forth. But the TVETs, they went home and sat, and yet they had a skill on their hand, which they could have equally used in terms of making some livelihood. So entrepreneurship skills are very important. Thank you so much. I would now would like to turn to our second last speaker, and we are truly grateful for all the questions that you are raising on the chat. Some of them we've been responding, referring you to websites where you can find information. So please feel free to browse and make yourselves familiar. And now a drumbeat, please, as we really turn to the youth for whom this webinar is all about. And I'm pleased to welcome onto our panel today, Ms. Nekesa Wamalwa from the African Youth Panel of Trust Africa. They are a youth network. They have set up a youth network that seeks to really rally and harness the voices of young people. Ms. Nekesa, as you come on to the platform, you present a youth forum. Share with us some of your reflections, having listened to the panelists, where the jobs are for the future, a young person that says skills matter and they make a difference in my life, and just two sectors that we believe have potential on our continent: hospitality, digital technologies, and of course our TVET sector. Share with us then reflections of how your network and others can work together to empower young people to see a hope and a future in a vocational trade. And I hope, Ms. Nekesa, we've also seen in the questions, there are a lot of people who are asking, how can we collaborate? How can we work together? So over to you, ma'am. Please share with us your perspectives.
Thank you so much, Unami, and to all my panelists before. I think we've had so much, a lot of, rich insights have been shared in terms of skills for the future and perspectives from different industries as well as stakeholders. So I'd just like to start by introducing first the organization and the initiative as well, and myself. Over to the next slide, please, Kobile. The other one, the next one after this. Yes, great, thank you. So my name is Nekesa Wamalwa. I'm the project manager of the African Youth Panel Initiative. And the African Youth Panel Initiative is a participatory action research initiative. We're partnering with MasterCard Foundation as Trust Africa, and we're looking to bring together 200 young people from 10 African countries. So just a brief about Trust Africa. So Trust Africa is a Pan-African foundation, and we aim to strengthen African agency in addressing the continent's most pressing needs. So based on our name, Trust Africa, we operate on the conviction that Africans must work together to set their own development priorities, as well as ensure that this is informed by the aspirations of African citizens. How does that relate to the African Youth Panel Initiative? The African Youth Panel Initiative aims to understand how young people, particularly women and girls in hard-to-reach communities, can access dignified and fulfilling work to sustain their livelihoods. Just to note, a lot of us have been speaking a lot about, young people looking for employment opportunities, and we will dive into that as well based on some of the insights we've already begun getting. But the true wealth of our nation does not lie in only the resources that we have, but also relies on the skills that the young people of that nation have. So we seek to be able to amplify youth voices and center their perspectives in terms of shaping policies and programs. But firstly, we aim to identify the key challenges and the barriers that prevent young people from accessing decent work opportunities, as well as co-creating solutions with them while building their capacity that will eventually lead to influence policy and practice. Over to the next slide, Kobile. Yes, after this as well. So we will begin by understanding some of the challenges. So based on what we are doing within this participatory action research is mainly to first begin by understanding the challenges as well as the context of young people in these different 10 countries. So some of the problems that have been highlighted, or the challenges, is access to quality education. And this is due to maybe limited resources and infrastructure, as well as the quality of teaching and learning materials, and then barriers to digital learning. So what we're hearing a lot from the young people is that there is that sort of awareness in some of these different countries on what learning opportunities are there. I think what comes to question is that how many of these institutions are already aligning the curriculum or the learning materials to be able to meet the gap that is there when it comes to the kind of skills we're putting out, we're looking to teach the young people, and the kind of skills that are actually needed on the ground. And I do appreciate my fellow panelist, Ms. Malemwa, who mentioned that we do have knowledge-based education systems, but we need competence-based education systems as well. So over the next slide, when it comes to employment, so some of the young people have been saying that there's limited job opportunities. There's a mismatch between skills and job markets, as well as the entrepreneurship aspect. So entrepreneurial challenges. What that looks like is that when it comes to working with TVET institutions or other institutions that are looking to skill young people to match whatever the context or realities are, we need to be able to look at what kind of skills really match the job market in this different context. We have actually seen a lot of young people who are educated to the point of PhD level, but in their countries, they have a lot of opportunities in practical, practical sectors such as construction, mining. But then we find that most of them are not interested in that because they find that from those misperceptions that we have when it comes to vocational trade, as well as other, work that is related, that's not really desk work or blue collar work, that this is not really the work that young people are looking to do. So there's an underutilization of talent in that these young people are really looking to get to other employment opportunities, but then they have other aspects of their skills that they could also be putting to use while working within their context. Over to the next slide. What is the role of education when it comes to empowering access to such opportunities? Equal access to quality education. We need to ensure that the young people have access to high quality education. And by high quality education, I do not mean high quality of education in terms of the level of education, but high quality education in terms of the practicality of what education is crucial for their realities. Skills development for modern workplace. My fellow panelist, Winnie, mentioned something about augmentation, transferable skills. So equipping young people with the relevant skills and knowledge that are in demand in the modern workplace is essential for their success. When it comes to some insights from Zimbabwe, for example, some of the young people working in the mining industry are, were facing a bit of challenges when it comes to getting such job opportunities. But then looking on the other end, there is a lot of other opportunities coming up when it comes to digital, digital spaces. And they were asking themselves, how can we get from where we are to where we need to be? So that aspect of acting as the bridge is really an important part that education would play when it comes to bridging that gap. Then the last one is empowering innovation as well. Yes, no worries about that. On to the next slide. So we need to be able to foster entrepreneurship and creativity. We need to enhance youth-led innovation, as well as nurture the creative problem solving from the young people. So this is to ensure that we not only have the hard access skills, but have the soft skills that will be able to solve complex problems and to drive positive change in the communities of the young people. And this was also brought out before by some of the panelists who spoke on that as well. Over to the next slide, Kobile. Great. So another important aspect is building resilience and adaptability. How do we cultivate resilience in the face of challenges? How do we ensure that the young generation is able to be resilient to overcome some obstacles and adapt to changing circumstances, the future of the workforce? How do we prepare for technological advancements, helping young people to anticipate and build to adapt to technological advancements and digital transformations in the future of job markets is very essential to where we are going as an African continent. How do we also embrace diversity and inclusivity? So when it comes to understanding diversity and inclusivity, we need to be able to navigate the world in a globalized but interconnected way. And this I heard from the young people in Malawi saying that they do have programs enabling them to learn how to use technology in different parts of their communities, but maybe they are looking at their priorities in a different light, such as climate issues that may be affecting their communities. So how do we embrace this diversity in the environment and be able to ensure that we are actually providing relevant spaces and relevant opportunities for their needs? On to the next slide. Then when it comes to what we are doing as well, we're not only collecting data to be able to put it out and store it in a different light, but we're also looking to influence policy implications. And this is when it comes to how we align our economic goals, how we work with governments to play a crucial role to shape skills development for African youth, as well as investing in education and training. Over to the next slide, Nkobile. I think we can skip this one just a bit and go to the next thematic topic. The next one as well. No, again. Yes. So some of the insights we have from the young people is that they do appreciate vocational training and they're looking to empower themselves to fit diverse career opportunities. They also do have a lot of insights and ideas that they're looking to catalyze for their own economic independence and foster the culture of innovation and self-reliance. Then there's also brought up the important aspect of empowering women and gender inclusion to foster essential opportunities and equal opportunities for young people within this context. So I know I'm running out of time and I do want to take up a lot of time on this end, but I just want to bring in the aspects that my fellow panelists brought out, as well as to sum up what we're just speaking about when it comes to young people. We need to understand the different contexts, we need to understand the different needs and work together with TVET institutions to be able to ensure that what we are bringing out is relevant to the context of the young people, as well as listening to what the young people want and implementing those solutions together with them would be really crucial when it comes to us getting to where we need to be in the next few years. So over to you, Unami. I see you have come up on my screen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nekesa. To be a pleasure to work with you, so organized and really, giving the effort to work with the young people at where they're at and empowering them to be agents of their own change. Ladies and gentlemen, please a rounding applause for all our panelists who have spoken with such passion and dedication. And personally, I feel if I were a young person, if I were any younger, I would be wanting to know more and take up a vocational skill. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm just going to invite, we have been looking at the questions and we've summed them up so that for time we are able to move quickly. We will not take up much more of your time. Mihle, are you on standby? We have some questions for you, and then I have some for Laksan, and then also for Winnie. So, Mihle, are you there? So please come on screen, and I can pose the questions that we've gathered from the Q&A. Because I do appreciate that he is a lecturer, so he's probably gone back into class. So Mihle is not coming on board for now. Mr. Soda, for TVET, there's a question. I wish to know how the TVET empowers young people with the skills Is it through formal education following the curriculums across the continent, or is it through specialized technical schools? Is it through informal education or on-the-job training? What have been your experiences regarding that, how young people are actually empowered, Mr. Soda? I also add the question, what is Humana's thought about inclusivity of young people, particularly living in marginalized communities like slums and informal settlements, or our urban areas? A question that has come up quite a lot through the Q&A. Mr. Soda, I'm giving you 1.5 minutes to quickly give us a summation.
Thank you. Our education in technical vocational school, it's both informal and informal, because we've been listening to what the youth would want. So yes, we have institution where we are offering short courses, and we target those who are, who are in the remote areas, who cannot afford to go to cities and towns for acquiring other expensive technical college. So deliberately, as Humana People to People, we have realized that there is a very big gap between those who are in the rural to access quality education. So you could say that we have allowed ourselves to go where the need for those youth who need access to quality education. Yeah, we are in many remote areas. You find us in rural areas, in slums, and our education system continue to be as inclusive as possible. Our previous TVET in Zimbabwe, which has been very much rooted in inclusive, looking at youth living with disability. This has been a very great experience for us, because this is a constituent which is isolated for many times.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soda.
Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soda. And I invite your colleagues to also go on to the NEPAD website, www.aspyeeaspire.org. And there you will find some best practices. Some of them are really relating to the disabled and how TVET is made accessible to them. There's a fantastic story around how blind students are proven to be some of the best cybersecurity experts in Kenya after training in TVET, and other stories of that nature that talk about how we reach out to the disabled and other marginalized communities. Thank you, Mr. Soda, for sharing your experiences. I'd like now to turn to Mr. Ms. Molemwa, sorry, ma'am. Your question, how can we ensure that there is efficient collaboration between TVET providers, public and private, the government, and the youth in Africa? How can we all work together to make sure that there is efficient collaboration in TVET?
Thank you. I think I will very comfortably speak from our sector, but also I think this is applicable to any other sector. When we have our national development plans, and then we come up with obviously the human development plans, what we need to look at is what is our current skill base. So we do have a number of young people and even adults that are highly skilled, but they don't have this proof of competence. And the TVET system is a very good place to start with the recognition of prior learning, because it even encourages the re-entry into the school system for pursuing other career paths. So I think the plan would be, and the guidance would be, we need to start talking to each other. I think we work too much in isolation, and this is a good opportunity to really start collaborating at a national level and at regional level. We need to also start looking at how do we get how do we reduce the number of those that are not working, those that are not qualified, how do we get them I'll give you a practical example. We have been running a program for bartenders. Right now, we've got high demand for restaurants, for hotels across the country. We have presence only in the capital. TVET institutions are spread across the country in very remote areas. And if we're able to focus first on instructional capacity before we can look at young people, we'll be able to solve a lot of problems. Oftentimes, we're always looking at dealing with the young person before we can look at who's teaching this young person. So my advice would be, can we collaborate at decision-making level? I submit.
Absolutely. We do need the platforms where private sector and public sector can come together. I know a lot of countries are now trying to put together their sector skills councils and other such platforms. And we'll be looking forward to share with you about World Skills Africa, which is another one of those that will be seeking to close that gap between what private sector, what the public institutions or the TVETs, the supply side is doing, and what is actually in demand from the private sector and industry. Last but not least, Winnie, would you also like to respond to that question in terms of what can be done from your experiences, what can be done to improve collaboration between TVET providers, the government, and the youth in Africa? Over to you, Winnie.
Thank you. I think from my experience, I think the number one, because I think on one side, we have been partnering with TVETs in terms of rethinking about what are the opportunities with regards to the future of skills, and then how do we support them in being able to adapt accordingly. On this other side, I think from a government perspective, I think there has been a desire and a need to be able to think about how do they adapt the current curriculum to be able to quickly be able to adapt to the current environment. And I think the willingness is there. There's a lot of systems and processes that have been put in place to kind of enable the current situation. And I think maybe this conversation today is quite critical because you're talking about revolutionizing and not kind of improving. And I think the need for be able to kind of, how do we flip the script? How do we completely change the conversation so that we're not trying to improve, we're really trying to rethink about what is needed in the market? How do we adapt the current ecosystem and systems in place to be able to revolutionize and also really place our young people at the forefront in terms of jobs, but also in terms of revolutionizing our industries. And so I think partnerships are critical. And I think that kind of, I think we call it the triple helix in terms of industry, the academia, and then also in terms of government to really think about how do we work together to be able to accelerate that. And I think being able to ensure that the needs of the market are being met by what the TVETs are being trained on, and government becoming an enabling party in terms of addressing the policy and structural issues that are in place to be able to really ensure that we can move as quickly as possible is critical.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Thank you so much. We are nearly at the end. We have one more speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. Before we part, we have two pieces of information to share with you. Today is World Youth Skills Day. My understanding, I'm not sure how, the day, yes, would have been adopted by the UN in 2014, but I'm also aware that there has been some engagement with World Skills International in terms of recognizing the power that skills have. And so we are pleased to share with you a short video that will encourage you about what we as the AUDA NEPAD are doing in terms of becoming part of this global movement of World Skills International through the formation of World Skills Africa. The next competition will take place in Livingston. And so please, let's watch the video to learn more about World Skills Africa. Nqobile?
To the world, I would say one thing: stand by and watch Africa become a powerhouse of the future. as the youth of Africa drive the economy for the next 10 years. It will be an exciting decade, and I really challenge the whole world to participate and support Africa to become that global powerhouse.
This is the beginning of something very, very big.
Now is your time. The world and Africa has never been in a better place for young people to stand up and make their future their own.
We need to enhance awareness about TVET career paths.
I want all the other girls and women to be able to see and realize that they can be anything they want to be.
Leaders, government, private sector in particular really need to think of what it is we can do collectively.
And it has been a remarkable opportunity for all of us to be here and to engage with members and partners of WorldSkills International and share the vision of WorldSkills Africa. We will work with the current members to co-create the governance arrangements as well as encourage membership and mentorship and whole-handed support to new countries and willing countries that want to be part of WorldSkills Africa.
The reason why I'm here is because of my family and also because of the country. We have an abundance of different ingredients.
It's creation, it builds us. We need implementers, we need artisans, we need people of different skill sets contributing to that path.
My appeal for the African countries is to join the WorldSkills movement. The world is not complete without Africa.
Doesn't that just touch you? The world needs Africa. The world is not complete without Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. And before I part and hand over to Ms. Boleta, I would like to ask you please to again say thank you to our panelists for a brilliant job well done. And I know there are some more questions that have been asked, and we will be posting those answers on the link and as well on our landing page. I would like to also just invite you as we part and hear the closing remarks to type one word that becomes your takeaway today. I have 4 that I will just be leaving with you. 1, focus on priority sectors. Learning a skill, you will never be hungry. Putting young people at the forefront for the Africa we want. Driving entrepreneurship through TVET. Encouraging young people to take up civic education and civic engagement for their future. Those are my keywords, and with those parting shots, please, Ms. Boleta, I welcome you to provide our vote of thanks and our way forward for this campaign. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. When you put together such a bunch of education enthusiasts, then you will run over time. But thank you all for joining us today. It has been very inspiring. I'm Boleta Strandbygaard. I'm the chairperson of the Humana People-to-People Educational and Training Foundation. Our foundation has been born out of the Humana People-to-People movement that Lux and Soda already have talked a bit about. We were looking for where could we support African Union's Year of Education, and this amazing partnership has been established on that background. We have always believed in the transformative power of education. From its start, Humana People to People's mission has been clear: to provide learners of all ages with foundational skills combined with knowledge and understanding of the reality in which they live, because then they can play their part in creating the positive change, both in their own lives, in their communities, and also in society at large. Today, we have really launched the Africa Skills Revolution. This initiative underscores the importance of TVET as a cornerstone for young people to drive progress and innovation across the continent. As we have discussed in today's panel, Africa's population is indeed young, and it's growing and it's getting younger. It holds tremendous potential for the continent's development. Sometimes the youth are seen as a threat to development, but no, they are a unique opportunity for progress. But the youth can't make the progress happen on their own. It requires our collective actions to reach there. And we need firm commitment so that we can cultivate and harness their potential. Strengthening the TVET systems across Africa is absolutely crucial in making that happen. We all face significant challenges. The exclusion of millions of young people for the productive spheres of society, the unemployment, the rising crises and armed conflicts, the internal displacements, the impacts of climate change. It all threatens the stability and development of our societies. And this is where the youth find themselves. Challenges not of their making, but they will have the responsibility to sort them out, while of course also thriving in their own lives. So transformative TVET is needed here. And I think all of us present today, we are dedicated to advancing inclusive, high-quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, and with a special focus on TVET. Yet, more collective efforts are needed. And that's why it is so exciting to embark on this partnership with AUDA NEPAD, with African Union, with ATUPA and Trust Africa. And we are sure that many others will join us in this. I want to extend really my heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed panelists and also our moderator for your valuable insights today. And I want to express gratitude to everyone else who has participated, also with many comments and questions in the question and answer in other ways. And it is really encouraging to have this engagement, which is so essential as we move forward with this initiative. This transformative vision requires all of us to work together. So we also take this opportunity to invite governments, the private sector, educational institutions, NGOs, and international bodies to join us on this journey. Your support and collaboration are vital in creating an environment where young Africans can thrive at all levels in society. Together, we can drive sustainable growth and build a prosperous and unified Africa where every young person can succeed. You can see here on the screen the social media handles of AUDA and NEPAD. Follow them, spread the word there, participate in the debate and use the hashtag Africa Skills Revolution for it, or Future Leader, or Year for Education. And you also see the QR code that you can access for more information on how you can engage and support this Africa Skills Revolution. So thank you once again to all of you for your participation, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Ms. Boleta. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you, Keiko. We'll meet again soon.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pauletta. Really was great having you. Appreciate it.
Well done from your side. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Mobile, you may close our room.
Okay, that's fine. You have to save the recording from your side.